Okay, so now we're going to handle our image uploads, and we're going to be using a third-party service called Cloudinary, which is fantastic for any kind of image storage for any kind of application. It gives you an API with all kinds of optimized images of different sizes, and there's a lot of different features. And the free tier is very generous, so you're not going to have to pay anything to implement this now. If you go into production, get a lot of visitors, then you're probably going to want to look at the paid tiers. So let's start off by logging in. So just sign up for free, go through the registration, and then log in. I have a couple accounts. I'm going to be using this one, which is kind of my tutorial account. Okay, and then first thing we're going to want to do is once you log in is to get your API keys and the necessary information to connect. So you can find that if you come down to the little gear and you click on that and then go to, let's see, access keys. Yeah, so API key. All right, so you might have to create a project. You can see I have mine as Traversy Dev. That's your cloud name, it's called. So it might prompt you to create that because you're going to need that. And then you're going to need your API key. So you can create those here. Get rid of that box. And then your API secret. All right. And I don't care if you guys see mine because I'm going to get rid of it later anyway. And then you're going to want to put that in your .env. So let's go to .env. And let's say Cloudinary underscore cloud underscore name. So for me, that's going to be Traversy dash dev, right? So you want to put whatever your cloud name is. Then we want to get the API key. So I have a couple here. I'm going to grab this one. And you can click generate new access key if you want. And then let's say Cloudinary underscore API underscore key. Paste that in. Then we have Cloudinary API underscore secret. And you can just copy that here. Okay, so now that should be copied. Secret, paste that. Nope, that's still... Oh, here it is. Okay, so we want to copy that. And why is that not copying? Oh, I didn't click the right button. Okay, so that's the secret. So I'm going to save that. Now, in order to use Cloudinary, we need to install the client. So let's go to our terminal and let's say npm install Cloudinary. Now, we need to create a config file, but before we do that, I like to create a specific folder. So I'm going to go back to this page and then click on folders. And then I'm going to create a new folder. So if we click this right here, and I'm going to call this property pulse and save that, because when I upload any images from that website, I want it to go into this specific folder. So that way, if you have multiple websites or applications that use Cloudinary and use the same account, you can have separate folders. So now we need to create our config. So we're going to go into our config folder. Right now we just have the database file there. We're going to create a new one and call this cloudinary.js. And then from here we want to import. This is going to be from Cloudinary, and we're using version 2. So this is from the documentation. You want to do v2 as Cloudinary. And then here we're going to say Cloudinary, so we're going to use that object and then do .config. And then this is where we pass in what we just got from the settings. So we're going to pass in an object with the cloud name, which we can get from process.env Cloudinary underscore cloud underscore name. Okay, so we want that, and then we want the API key, so we're going to get rid of that, and that's going to be API underscore key. So that will be Cloudinary underscore API key. Then we want the secret, so this we're going to change to API underscore secret, and then we're going to get that from API underscore secret. Okay, and then we just want to export that object, so let's say export as default Cloudinary. And that's all we have to do in the config. Now, where we want to use it, we can just import it from here. We can import this object. So we want to go back to our route, right? It's going to be the same property, API properties route.js. And up at the top, let's import Cloudinary from @config/Cloudinary. All right, now let's add our upload functionality. It's going to be in the post route because it's in the same route that we submit our add form to, right? When we submit this and we select these images, those are the images that we want to upload. Now, in the last video, we commented out this images, but we actually want to get rid of it because we're not going to put it here. We're going to add it after we do the upload. Because the process is we select the image from the form, we turn it into an array buffer, we get the data from that, and then we upload it to Cloudinary. Cloudinary gives us back a response with the URL, and then we put that URL in the database. Well, I should say in the array, the images array, and then into the database. And it could be multiple URLs. All right, so let's go directly under the property data object, and let's say upload images to Cloudinary. All right, so first thing we're going to do is just create an array, and we'll call this image upload promises, because we're going to get one for each image that we upload, because we can do multiple. And then we're going to have a for loop where we loop through the images, right? And we have the images right here coming in from the form data in the form of, an array of image files. So let's say for const image of images, and then let's create an image buffer. So we want to await image, and then there's a method we can use called array buffer. Yeah, image buffer, array buffer. And then what we want to do is convert that into a unit 8 array. And that's basically an array of 8-bit unsigned integers. So we can say const image array, and we can take array dot from, and then pass in new unit 8 array, and pass in that image buffer that we just created. Okay, now we're going to say image data, and we're going to take that buffer, and we're going to use the dot from method and pass in the image array. So we're basically just we're turning it into a format that can be processed, basically. Then we want to, let's say, convert. We want to convert the image, or I should say the image data, to base 64. So let's say const, and we'll call this image base 64, and then take that image data variable, and let's say toString, and then pass in here base 64. Okay, so now we have this in a format where we can upload it to Cloudinary. So that's what we're going to do right now is upload. We'll say make request to upload to Cloudinary. So we'll say const result, and then we want to await Cloudinary. So this is where we use that object, and it's going to be Cloudinary uploader dot and then a method called upload. All right, and then in upload, we're going to pass in, let's go on the next line here and put some backticks. So here, the way we want to format this, and this is important, data colon image slash PNG, and then we want a semicolon, and then base 64, and then a comma, and then this is where we want to put our image base 64 variable. Okay, now since we created, or I created a folder that I want this to go into, we can add a second options object, and we can specify the folder, which for me is property pulse. Okay, I'm not sure if you have to create it first or if this will actually create it for you, but I would suggest just creating it first. All right, and then after that result, all we have to do is take our image upload promises array, which is empty at the moment, and then we're going to push onto it. So we're going to push the result dot secure underscore URL. Okay, so then we'll end up with a bunch of URLs. Then we'll come down here and let's say wait for all images to upload. So here, let's say const uploaded images, and we're going to set that to await, and then we can use promise.all. I'm sure you guys have done this before. Oh, I didn't spell that right. Hold on. Uploaded images. So promise.all, and we want to pass in here our image upload promises. All right, and then finally, we can add uploaded images to the property data object. Okay, so we'll say property data dot images, and we're going to set that to uploaded images. And that's it. So basically, we're turning it into an array buffer, and then into a format that we can use to process it. Then we're calling the Cloudinary uploader, which makes a request to the Cloudinary servers with the image, with this image PNG format, and then specifying the folder. Then we're basically pushing the response or the result URL onto this array. Then we're waiting for all those promises to finish, and then putting it in this variable, and then we're setting the images property of this object, right? We don't have images here, we're setting it right here. So we're setting that to the uploaded images. So we should end up with an array of Cloudinary URLs, which then we can use in, in the front end, in the pages of our website. So let's save that and let's give it a shot. Let's cross our fingers, give it a shot. I'm just going to reload this page here, and I'll call this something else. I'll just call it Brad's property. This is another test. 55, I don't know, Market Street. Okay, I'm just going to choose a bunch of these. We'll do a weekly. Test. I'll do, okay, seller phone. Now for the images, I want to select some of the demo images. It really doesn't matter, I guess. No, I'll go to the desktop because I believe we have the theme there. We have images, properties. So I'm just going to select a couple of these. We'll get C1, C2, and C3. So open that and then add property. It might take a couple seconds because it has to reach out to the server. All right, so it's not going to show the image yet, but let's see if they got uploaded, and let's see what's in the database. So first off, we'll go to Cloudinary, and I'll go in Property Pulse. Let's reload. Okay, so the images were uploaded. That's a good sign. Now, the URLs to these images should be in our database. So let's go to Compass, and let's go to View Reload Data. And I'm going to go down to that listing, which is this one right here, Brad's Property, and you'll see there's 3 images. And there we go. We have the URLs to those 3 images. If I grab one of these, there it is. Okay. So the only reason we're not seeing it here is because we're not displaying them correctly. So in the next video, we're going to make it so the images display, we'll have the main one here, and then we'll also have the rest of them down here.